Hello everybody. Today what we are looking at is how to factorize expressions, okay? So what the word factorize means is we are looking at the highest common factor. So last session we looked at equations that were written in brackets, yeah? And we were looking at expanding them. What we're doing today is we are looking at that expanded version and converting it into brackets. So basically the opposite of what we were doing last session. Okay, so this time we are starting with the expanded version and we're going to convert it into the bracket version. And in order to do that, we need to know what we call the highest common factor. And remember, the highest common factor is the number, all right, or a factor or a term that goes into both of the things that we are talking about. So over here, it says the highest common factor, the HCF, of a set of terms is the largest factor that divides into each term. So if we look here, we've got 15x and we've got 21y. Now we need to see what number can go into both of those. So 15 and 21. What number can go into 15 and 21? Well, the answer is 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 goes into 21 7 times. So the answer is 3. But now in algebra, we've also got letters involved. So we can also see if there is a common factor with our letters as well. We've got an x here and a y here. They're not the same, okay? So we leave that as is. The next one, highest common factor of 10a and 20c. What is common between 10 and 20? I like to look at the numbers first and then the letters. So 10 and 20, 10 goes into 10, 10 goes into 20, okay? The number 5 also goes, the number 2 also goes, but the highest number that goes into both of them is 10. There's an A and there's a C, they are different. So our answer is just 10. The last one, 12x and 18xy. Remember, they are not like terms, okay, because this one has an x in it and this one has an xy in it. But we'll look at the numbers first to see the highest common factor, 12 and 18. We've got the number 2 that goes into it. We've got the number 6 that goes into it as well. So 6 goes into 12 twice, 6 goes into 18 3 times. So our highest common factor is 6. But again, because it's algebra, we're also going to look at our letters. We've got an x here and an xy here. Okay, so the x is common between both of them. So we're going to write 6x, and that is our highest common factor. Okay, so in this case, we can also have a letter that is included. Okay, I'm going to run you through an example of how we factorize an expression. So in order to factorize an expression, what we need to do first is we need to be able to identify what the highest common factor is of both of the terms that are included. Okay, and that highest common factor is going to go outside the bracket, and then we're going to divide each term by that highest common factor, leaving the result in the brackets, blah, 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 blah. So many words. Let's break that down. Okay, so I've got one term here, 10x, and my second term here, 15y. Remembering your terms are separated by a plus or minus sign. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look and see what our highest common factor is between these two terms. So looking at the numbers first, 10 and 15, what number goes into both 10 and 15? If you're thinking the number 5, you are correct. All right, so what we do is we take the HCF outside the bracket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my highest common factor, which is 5, I'm going to put a bracket. And I'm going to separate my question into the different terms. So we're going to look at the first term first, 10x. Our highest common factor we said was 5. So we're going to say how many times does 5 go into 10x? All right, 5 goes into 10 twice, and there is an x left over because there's no x with the 5. Okay, so there's an x there, we got to include it. Now I've got a plus sign, so I'm going to do plus. And we're going to look at our second term now. How many times does 5 go into 15? 5 goes into 15 3 times. So we're going to write 3, and then our letter is y. Because that's the end of my expression, I'm going to now close my bracket. So what we have done is we have the expanded version, okay, and we've factorized it. We've factorized it into the bracket form. And what we can do is we can say that this is actually exactly the same as this. They're just written in different formats, okay? So this is just written in its factorized form. So to be able to check our answer, what we can do to see that we've done this correctly is we can expand our bracket. So remember, when we're expanding brackets, I go 5 times 2x. 5 times 2 is 10. So I'm going to go 10x. Okay, and then I do my second part. So 5 times 3y is 15y, so plus 15y. And what you will notice is this is exactly the same as this. So if I have factorized it correctly, when I expand my factorized version, I should get what I started off with. So that is why last lesson and this lesson are quite intertwined with each other, okay? I'm going to run through a couple more examples together. Okay, so find the highest common factor of 20 and 35. So we need to see what numbers go into both 20 and 35. And the answer to that is 5. 5 goes into 20 4 times, 5 goes into 35 7 times. All right, next one, 18a and 24ab. What number goes into 18 and 24? Hopefully you're thinking of the number 6, okay? And because we've got letters here, we just need to make sure that if there's any letters that are the same in both of our terms. So here I've got an 18a, and here I've got a 24ab. So a, you will notice, is the same in both. So that is a common factor. So my answer is 6a for that one. This one over here, 12x and 15x squared. Well, what number goes into 12 and what number goes into 15? The number 3 does. Okay, 3 goes into 12, 3, 6, 9, 12, 4 times. And into number 15, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 5 times. All right, now we look at our x's. We've got an x and we've got an x squared. Remember, x squared means x times x. So there's 2 x's there that are multiplied by each other. So a common factor between both of them is x. Okay, so my answer for the highest common factor between these two is 3x. This process of being able to understand how to identify the highest common factor is basically step 1 in your factorizing of an equation. So whenever we do these kind of questions, the first thing that we're going to do is figure out what the highest common factor is. So we'll start with this one. 6x plus 15. What is my highest common factor for that? So my highest common factor is the number that goes into both 6x and into 15. And that is, of course, the number 3. So that number 3 is step number 1, going to go outside of my bracket. And I'm going to look at my two terms separately. So how many times does 3 go into 6x? 3 goes into 6 twice with an x there as well. Okay, and now we look at our second term. Plus, how many times does 3 go into 15? 3 goes into 15 5 times. So my answer is 5 because that's the end of it. I now close my bracket. If I were to expand this, 3 times 2x, whoop, that equals 6x. 3 times 5, whoop, that equals 15. So I know that my answer is correct. This next one over here, 12a plus 18ab. All right, let's have a look at my highest common factor. So we look at the numbers first, 12 and 18. What number goes into 12 and 18? The answer is 6. Okay, and we've got letters here as well, A and AB. Whoop, I see that there's an A that's common between both of them, so I'm going to write that down as well. So my highest common factor, I'm going to take that outside of my bracket. So I'm going to go 6A bracket, and we look at the first part. How many times does 6 go into 12? 6 goes into 12 twice. And our A's have already been accounted for because there is A there and A there. I'm going to leave it. And I look at my next one, 6A into 18AB. So how many times does 6 go into 18? 6, 12, 18 is 3 times. My A and my A are already accounted for because A goes into A once. And then there is a B left over. So we're going to write that B down. And that is my answer. So again, let's check if it's correct. 6A times 2. 6 times 2 is 12A. Yep. And then 6A times 3B. So 6 times 3 is 18. I've got an A and I've got a B. A and B. So yes, I am correct. correct. Woohoo! All right, lucky last. 21x, take away 14y. So we've got to look at our highest common factor for this one. Highest common factor, what number goes into 21 and what number goes into 14? That is the number 7. And my letters, I've got an X and a Y. There's no common, so we leave it. All right, so I've got my highest common factor. I'm going to put it outside my bracket. How many times does 7 go into 21? 7, 14, 21. That is 3 times, and there's an X there, so I've got to include it. Okay, this is a takeaway sign, so I'm going to take away 7 into 14. 7 goes into 14 twice. So I'm going to write 2, and there's a Y there, so we're going to include the Y. And we are done. So again, let's check our answer. 7 times 3x. 7 times 3 is 21, and there's an X. Yep. Take away 7 times 2y is 14y, which we have. So I know that I am correct. All right, so in terms of factorizing expressions, firstly, find the highest common factor. Secondly, put the highest common factor outside the bracket. And then thirdly, divide each term, okay, each term by that highest common factor and close your brackets. And then you can check your answer by, again, expanding those brackets to make sure you end up with the same thing that you started off with. If this all makes sense, please give this video a thumbs up. Give me a comment telling me how you went with all of this content. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Have a good day. Bye.